I had two adoptive families till my 13, and I suffered a lot. Hi, my name is Kelly. Today I'm 16 years old, and I have a house and a family, but it wasn't always like that. I was abandoned by my parents when I was a 4-month-old baby. They took me to an orphanage. I lived there, and when I turned 1, a family adopted me. I had a very difficult early childhood because my adoptive parents treated me with a lot of indifference. They already had 2 other kids, and I realized the difference in the treatments between them and me. I know it too. I'm not an easy child. I already felt the consequences of abandonment and lack of affection. When I turned 7, I decided to run away. Yes, I ran away from my adoptive parents' house. I didn't want to live there anymore. I didn't want to live in that heavy environment where I had the feeling that they didn't want me. I preferred to go and live on the streets. And here things got so complicated. I spent days without eating, I got sick, and I was constantly attacked by other residents. But I wanted to survive. I needed to be strong. I lived for a year and a half on the streets until I was sent again to another orphanage. 3 months later, I was adopted again by another house. A family that was cool, but that I couldn't fit in. It was a family of 4 people. They had a real son and another adopted boy, and then me. I needed to fit in and to try to do everything their way and in their manners, but I simply couldn't do it. They had some strange habits that didn't match my personality. They treated me with a great affection. But I had decided that I didn't want to stay there. I didn't feel at home. That was not my place. They put me in a very good school. I had private lessons to be able to reach the learning level of other kids of my age. But I wasn't feeling good. They tried. They really tried to make me feel safe and loved by everyone, but I was always on my defensive. I started to break things on purpose and never assumed that it was me. I started to make a lot of trouble with the other kids at school and at home too. My parents started to punish me. They didn't let me watch TV or stay on the computer. That's it for me. That was the last straw. I started to get even more aggressive. I started to take things and give it away, to give them to the people on the street. Even with all of these things, they insisted on me. They took me to several psychologists, but nothing worked because I didn't want to be helped. I carried a lot of anger inside of me. And it was mainly because I didn't know who were my biological parents and why they abandoned me. Everyone in that house was getting tired of me, so they no longer cared for me or about the things I did. My adoptive mother had high blood pressure. One day, she got really bad. We had to take her to the hospital. The doctors told my father that she had suffered a heart attack, and my brothers blamed it all on me. I felt really bad. She stayed in the hospital for 20 days. They were the worst moments of my life. There, I realized how bad I was to the family and how much harm I did to them. The day before my mother was allowed to leave the hospital, I went there to apologize for everything I've done. We cried a lot, and she told me that it wasn't my fault. She was one of the kindest person I've ever met, and she was so good to me, always. When I got back home, I was still feeling a lot of remorse. So I took some clothes and left. I didn't want to cause any more harm to them. I decided to go to another city, a place far from everything, far from where I used to live. I bought a ticket with my father's credit card and made a false authorization. I was only 12 years old, but I looked a bit older since I've lived a lot of things in these years. I stayed on the streets for about 6 months. It was very hard because I was used to live in the comfort of my last adoptive family's house and the support of my adoptive parents too. It was hard. I cried a lot for several days. All the mixed feelings were messing with my head. I was missing my adoptive family, I was scared, and the worst of everything, I was so alone. There was a day when I was very hungry. I decided to ask a lady for some food. She was very sweet. She looked at me fondly and asked me if I wanted to come in. It was a small, cute, and cozy house. I felt really good there. She was very caring and she gave me food and some orange juice. I ate a lot of her food and then I said that I needed to leave. So she asked me if I had somewhere to go. I was afraid that she would call the children council, so I answered that I must go to find a shelter. She smiled and she asked me if I wanted to stay with her that night. So I felt a very big joy that I didn't feel for a long time. Her house felt like my home, the home that I never really had. I asked her if I could take a shower. She smiled and said I was supposed to be comfortable. She went up to a room that was locked, took a towel, and showed me where the bathroom was. When I finished my shower, she asked me if I wanted to watch TV. And of course, I said yes. She sat next to me, took her crochet, and we sat there in silence. I took some courage and asked her about her family. I asked her where her husband and children were. Her eyes filled up with tears and she told me that her husband had passed away and her only daughter had disappeared a long time ago. I hugged that strange woman. It was such a good feeling, like I knew her for so many years. Then she got up and went to the bedroom to put me to sleep. That night I slept like a rock. How long did I feel like this? I woke up with the smell of coffee with milk and homemade bread. I got out of bed and went directly to the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, waiting for me so we could have breakfast together. She smiled and asked me to wash my face and to brush my teeth. We talked a lot that morning. She wanted to know everything that happened in my life. There were so many questions. I told her everything that happened to me and how I arrived to her door. She hugged me and she said that life had not been easy for both of us, but that maybe we could be happier together. Those words surprised me. So she asked me if I didn't want to stay with her, keep her company. We were both already alone in the world, so why not? It was pure happiness. I replied without thinking twice, yes! I had never felt much happiness. With that home and everything, this made me feel really good. So we agreed that I would call her a grandmother and not a mother, and that I would look for a lawyer to take care of the adoption process. After some time, the judge gave her provisional custody. I was such a happy child. I went to school and I even learned to do some crochet with my lovely grandmother. On my 15th birthday, my grandma got me a great gift. Her daughter, who she didn't see for so many years, was back, and the judge gave her finally my custody. Today, we are a beautiful family that respects and loves each other so much.